The mystery of transportation. The most pressing and realistic problem was transportation. Even if Egypt had adequate manpower, it could not transport the megaliths weighing 2.5 to 160 tons to the worksite. Were they carried by carts and driven by horses? No, at that time, there were no carts and horses in Egypt. Horses and carts were introduced from abroad in the 16th century BC, namely 1,000 years after the building of the Pyramid of Khufu. Some believed that the stone pieces were transported via rolling transportation with crow plates and logs. But this method requires a large quantity of timber. However, at that time, the trees in Egypt were mainly palms, which could not meet the need for transportation in terms of quantity, growth speed, and rigidity. And it was almost impossible to import timbers. Some people believe it was a water transportation method. In 1980, the inspector of the Giza Antiquities in Egypt, Hawass, conducted rock core sampling and discovered a rock quay at least 50 meters deep, which may have been excavated during the 4th dynasty of Egypt as a port. Later, someone discovered a canal that connected the port. However, without pulleys, winches, or advanced lifting equipment, it would have been even more difficult to transport such bulky giant stones downhill, onto ships, and onto the shore than to move them on land. Moreover, there was a drop of at least 50 feet between the water surface and the rocky shore. And the pyramid on the west bank of the Nile had to use stones from the east bank of the Nile. Apart from land and water transportation, could they have used air transportation? This is truly a mystery. A French industrial chemist studied the pyramids from a chemical and microscopic perspective and believed that the stone blocks were not solid, but were composed of a mixture of substances such as limestone, rocks, and shells. Because the adhesive used had strong adhesive force, it was almost impossible to distinguish whether it was natural stone or artificial stone. This certainly solves the problem of transportation difficulties appropriately. However, as further evidence, the discovery of a 2.5 centimeters long human hair in the stone blocks is not enough, and this outstanding adhesive is not only not recorded in ancient books, but also has not been analyzed by modern means by the chemist. The mystery of construction. Legend has it that Imhotep, the designer and architect of the pyramid, was the first talent in history to transcend his time. His talent surpassed the time to such an extent as to cause natural amazement and suspicion. It was extremely difficult to turn a gigantic protruding rock into a 52,900 square meter foundation of the pyramid. They completed the survey and construction of the foundation without the help of graders, power equipment, and modern measurements. The four hemlines of the foundation have a discrepancy of less than 20 centimeters, and the error rate is less than 1,000th. There is only a difference of 1.27 centimeters between its heights in the southeast corner and northwest corner, and the error rate is less than 1/10,000th. The force position error between its east-west axis and north-south axis is no more than 5 arc-seconds. They did not have units of measurement except for the arm's length, 300 arms lengths equal approximately 155 meters, as a measurement unit. It is really puzzling how they could construct with such accuracy. To ensure the pyramid's lasting, the designers did not use a single pole or nail to avoid hidden trouble since wood is liable to decay and iron is susceptible to rusting. There is no bonding material between the stone pieces, but they fit perfectly. Even the thinnest blade cannot penetrate. How the chunks of stone were hoisted and placed one upon another is an even more mysterious subject that provokes endless guesses. Some people say that a wooden boat-shaped tool was used to lever the megaliths up and lay them one after another. But where did the fulcrum and ropes that could lift several, dozens, or even more than 100 tons of stone come from? Some people claim that the sand-filling method was employed. Sand was piled along the pyramid's foundation. The sand pile would rise with the height of the foundation and acted as scaffolds. After the pyramid was completed, the sand would be cleared away. Now let's work on a mathematical problem. The 146-meter pyramid is a cone with a square bottom and a pointed top. The foundation of the pyramid is a square with a side length of 230 meters. Question: what is its volume? If the periphery of the foundation is surrounded by sand to form a slope for the transport of stone, and the angle of the slope is 30 or 25 degrees, then how long will be the hemline of the sand pile? Suppose the height of the sand pile is also 146 meters, how many cubic meters of sand will be needed? Where does all this massive amount of sand come from? Besides, the filling and removing of the sand would double the workload. Some people say that the salt filling method was employed with the same procedure as the sand filling method. After the pyramid was completed, water could be used to dissolve the salt, and there was no need to move it away. But it would be much more difficult to obtain so much salt. In addition, a storm would melt away a whole salt slope. It is also believed that mud bricks from the Nile were used to build the twisting slopes, which rose layer by layer. The result was similar to that of the sand slope, the only difference being that mud bricks were less available than sand. There is an entrance 13 meters from the ground in the north of the pyramid. Since the 9th century, tomb robbers, explorers, and investigators have frequented the pyramids in close succession. However, its inner structure remains a mystery. There are labyrinth-like passageways and tomb chambers inside the pyramid. The walls are smooth and decorated with reliefs. The passageways have neatly constructed steps extending like veins toward the tomb chambers deep underground. The chamber has vent holes leading outside the pyramid. It is said that the soul of the dead can freely enter and go out of the pyramid through these holes. Strangely, the two vent holes aim at Draco, eternity, and Orion, resurrection, respectively. They are probably the places where souls ascend. 3 such chambers have been discovered, while archaeologists believe that there are at least 4 more chambers to be discovered. Could people 4,000 years ago accomplish such ingenious and exquisite designs and conceptions? Most surprisingly, there have been no traces of torches used for lighting in any mausoleum. Archaeologists have used modern instruments to analyze the dust that has been accumulated for 4,600 years. No ashes have been discovered, nor are there any traces suggesting that soot has been scraped off. We should know that these instruments can analyze 1/millionth of the chemical ingredients inside each particle of dust. They could not have carved reliefs, cleaned chambers, or moved the corpse of the pharaoh in total darkness. What kind of lighting have they used? Until now, we have found no clues in this aspect.